Welcome to the Fantasy Golf Bag Podcast, presented by FantasyGolfBag.com, your number one source for the most in-depth PGA Tour analysis in the daily fantasy and sports betting world. Each week, our experts will discuss everything you need to know, from the course preview and key stats to top plays, fades, and strategies. Whether golf betting, grinding out cash games, or playing for a big GPP win, our team has you covered. Let's get after it.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Golf Bag Podcast. I'm your host, Redkacheek. We got two special guests this evening to talk a very special golf tournament, and that is the Masters tournament at Augusta National. With me to help break down the field and the course, I got Axis, a.k.a. Fantasy Jesus. Axis, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. How are you doing, Drew?
Doing all right. I'm kind of ready to get over this Valero Texas Open and get to the Azaleas at Augusta.
Apparently, I was never in it, if you would look at all the lineups I built, so I'm ready for Augusta as well.
Perfect. Well, I'm sure you've had extra time to research then without the sweats of any type of Valero Texas Open. The other counterpart to help us break down the Masters tournament is Skylar, a.k.a. Golf Savages, a.k.a. Golf Gurus. Skylar, how's it going, man?
What's up, Drew? Axis. Can't wait for this week. Obviously, the biggest week of the year. I've been waiting for this moment. So, yeah, let's get this rolling.
Yeah. No, this is, man, it's just, I was reading some history, an article earlier today about the history of Augusta National, like the ups and downs it faced. But, like, man, every year since I've been in golf, it's just like a special week. I remember in high school, I would literally, there was teachers, I don't know why they enabled me to do this, but they would let me skip class. I would go to another class and basically watch the Masters Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the live coverage on the range and all that stuff for like hours. And then obviously go practice afterward and then go watch the Masters at night, the live from on the Golf Channel. Like, man, Augusta is just a special. Love it.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely awesome. It's, I don't know, like most everybody else, it's my favorite week of the year. And as a gambler, it's just more intriguing. There's more prop bets, Draftkings wise. All the contests are bigger. Like this is it. This is the Super Bowl for golf.
And it's the best. I mean, being out here in Phoenix on the West Coast, waking up at like 3:30 on Thursday morning, ready to go, lineups lock, get the early coverage. I will not be able to sleep all week.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Like, I'm going to go up there. I think I'm going up there Tuesday. Going to go for the practice round Wednesday, and then come back. But like, there's like the coverage, the media from Augusta is the best of probably any other sport in America, anyways. Like, literally, they're covering holes like Amen Corner. They're covering featured groups. They're covering the driving range as guys are warming up. Like, if you want to watch golf, this is like the week to do it. Basically, at any point during the day, just wake up, open up masters.com, wherever their website is, and they'll have coverage for you. It's amazing.
I just can't wait to see Jeff Knox on Saturday morning.
Oh, gosh.
But no, having you back on here, I know you probably won't brag too much, but getting to hear, from the $1 million winner last year, take it down, and then getting the opportunity to obviously go to the course as well this year, I think those will be extremely beneficial for all of our listeners here. Obviously, it's an outstanding win last year, as cool as that gets. So I'm interested to pick your brain on this, and I know we had a really cool piece with one of your college roommates earlier who played in the Masters last year, so hopefully people enjoy that piece too.
Yeah, Matt Parziale playing last year was phenomenal for him. Winning the Millie Maker is great. I know we were on Draftkings for a show, and basically, Matt has to give the politically correct answers, but, what would you rather have? They gave him a trick question, though. They asked if he would rather win the Masters or win $1 million in the Millie Maker, and that's, yeah, you're going to want to win the Masters. They asked me if I would rather play in it or win the Millie. Obviously, for me, I'd rather just win the Millie, and I could just go visit and watch somebody. Yeah, I'd rather just go watch someone play. That's good.
Yep.
But yeah, it's it's an interesting tournament when it comes to like lineup construction, because obviously I think the pricing's a little bit better this year with a higher price Rory McIlroy and DJ up there over $11K. But like generally speaking, it's a limited field. So guys tend to have overlap. Big prizes, big fields. I mean, you got to kind of be creative, but looking back at prior years' ownerships, prior years' salaries that's used, it doesn't seem like anything's a secret. Like, you're playing good players, you're getting close to your salary cap. It's just a matter of getting those guys in one lineup to work out, to win the Millie Maker. That's basically what it comes down to. So I'm pretty excited. It's a fun week of research. It's a fun week of just lineup construction in general.
Yeah, for sure. And you can basically, like you said, erase 20 golfers in this field right off the bat and really get it down to like 65 playable guys, in my opinion. And 50 of them, if not all of them, but at least 50 of them are going to make the cut. So like you said, it gets interesting building, but I don't think you have to get too crazy. Like, and of course we'll get into it, but I mean, I don't think you need to be reaching down to play like an Immelman or Imihara or somebody. Like, I don't think you need to squeeze those guys in,
because you're literally looking for top 15 finishes. I think the worst place finish last year for a guy on my lineup that was 15th place, and like, you're looking for upside inside the top 10. You're really trying to construct a guy, or you're trying to include a guy in your construction that can win. Like, you're not just picking a guy that's an amateur like Victor Hovland. Like, well, if he finishes top 20, that's pretty good. That's not good. You want a guy that can win in every single slot in your lineup, at least in the Millie Maker. If you're playing the 3K tournament they have this year, obviously you can get a little bit more creative. You don't have to be so strict on your player pool if you want to kind of go that way to win a 300-man tournament. But yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward week when you're diving into these players. The biggest key, I think, is taking stands. If like last year, we were talking about, before the show came on, like, there's a few guys you could really take a stand on, and if they played poorly, then you got hurt. If they played great, then you have a lot of leverage on the field. But in a small field like this, it feels like every person's a good play. You really gotta make the tough decision to cut someone in the 8K range that maybe you like them all. So I think that's the hardest part in this type of event.
And I think from a point, of all the content that's out this week, of all the new users that are coming into play, the biggest event of the year, there's still going to be aggregated ownership as we talk around those top plays. So, I mean, if you look off of your tweet earlier this week, every single year there's been multiple people in lineups that are below 12% owned. Each year there's been at least 3 of them, actually.
Right.
So we're still going to have quality players at low ownership that we're going to find, to make moves on that we'll talk about, and making those stances as you addressed. Like, we can find those guys still and make quality, unique lineups, with still playing that small player pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of on the same flip side of that is guys were very popular in the winning Millie Maker lineups, like over 20%. And in a couple of those years, it was multiple over 20% guys. 2 of the years, it was over 30%. So, like, you're not going to avoid chalk. We'll just put that out there. And if you're on the right plays that are lower owned by circumstance, then great. It's going to work out for you. But you don't have to force in, a Mike Weir or a Larry Mize. Like, oh, wow, they're projected for 1%. They're not going to win. They're probably not going to make the cut. Although Mike Weir's actually been playing better this year, but besides the point.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt. As we watch, Corey Connors is not missing any putts right now. He's going into 18, I think, with a 3-stroke lead.
So he's going to be our last man into the field.
Yep.
Terrific.
Man, that's horrible. My gosh. I say horrible. I'm going to go on tilt for a second. I texted Sky, I think, early Thursday, and I was like, tell me Corey Connors is not going to win because I didn't bet it, and I want to bet him live now. And sure as shit, oh yeah, he won't win. And that's what he's supposed to tell me, but my God.
What was he at, like 250 or 200 or 150 to 1?
I don't want to talk about it.
I think 110. I know Adon.
I could have got it live at 80 and I didn't.
Yeah.
What a dumbass. Anyway, on to the best week of the year, the Masters. Nobody cares about Valero.
No, not anymore. If see what Siwoo does, but apparently no one's going to be terribly excited for Corey Connors. I don't think he was heavily touted off of Monday qualifying. That's amazing, actually.
I'll give our boy, though, Adon, shout out for being there at Valero all week and having outrights on all 3 of the final groups and nailing Corey Connors here. So.
That's awesome.
That is pretty solid.
That'll help your bankroll for the Masters.
Absolutely.
All right, so to kind of circle back real quick on the ownership, and then we'll talk about the course briefly, and then we'll get into some players and possibly lineup construction thoughts. But dating back to 2015, so what I posted on Twitter was the winning Millie Maker lineups from 2015 through 2018, and the aggregate ownership as well as the salary cap used. So from 2015 to 2018, the overall aggregate ownership for the lineups was 86.5%, 61.6%, 112%, and 85%. So generally speaking, below 90%, maybe even below 85%. And then what was really interesting, which I'm glad someone asked me to look it up because it took a while of just manual labor. But from 2015 to 2018, the winning Millie Maker lineup used up the entire salary twice, was $100 shy at $49.9 one year, and was $300 shy in 2017 at $49.7. So everyone talks about saving salary or leaving salary on the table, which I don't think is a bad strategy, but in this type of field, which with it so strong, a lot of times, man, it's you're basically building out close to the 50K salary cap to get all the studs that you can into your lineup.
And to that point, I mean, building things with 50K like you did last year, you need to bring in, people that are going to be low owned, have multiple ones like you were able to do, because personally, I don't think, of course it would be awesome to take it down no matter what, but if you had to chop that with somebody else because you made a chalk lineup, that would hurt incredibly from a standpoint. So being smart about it if you're going to, max out your salary cap, which, I think is, pretty standard.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts from you, Axis, or you wanted me to break down the course here?
No, I agree. It really comes down to take your stands and gain leverage, because like you said, you're gonna have to play some chalk. You're gonna have to cram people in. There's no reason to leave 1,200 on the table this week with so many good golfers. So just for me, it'll be shrinking down the player pool.
Yeah, and I think overall the way the pricing is, there's no one going to be crazy owned. I think there's a few names that might get over 20% that wouldn't normally, just due to the pricing. But you look at the top range with Rory and Dustin there, neither one of them are going to be 40% owned. Justin Rose, Tiger Woods right behind them. So it should be a mix of ownership throughout. So it's just a matter of really condensing your pool and taking stands. Obviously having all 5 guys or all 6 guys over 10K is probably not prudent.
I'd agree.
Don't do that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's dive into it, man. Again, best week of the year. Excited to go up there and see it in person. I believe you guys have both seen the golf course prior, correct? Or at least Skylar has.
No,
that's our buddy Tyler, the co-part here. He's gone back-to-back years. He's won that raffle.
he refuses to bring us.
And he won't give the secret for winning the lottery.
No,
Nope.
Nothing hasn't taken us. So I'm sure he'll love us dogging on him on the pod. But he'll be there, I believe, Monday. They're on their way down, so he'll have a blast.
Sweet. I'm excited to see it. So to help us talk through Augusta National a little bit better, what better than to have someone that's played Augusta National a handful of times, including the Masters tournament, and that is Mr. Matt Parziale of Brockton, Massachusetts. Matt, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been kind of disappointing, I guess. You couldn't make it back to Augusta this year, but again, once in a lifetime opportunity. You can't really argue with that, huh?
Yeah, no, not at all. Just hopefully one day maybe get to do it again, but of course, it's a week I'll definitely never forget.
Yeah, so, obviously kind of looking at the Masters from our perspective, looking at this golf course, I just want to kind of pick your brain for a brief amount of time to get an idea of what players really we should be targeting. How does the course set up, what we see it, and how does it actually play when you're playing it? So I'll kind of just start off right off the bat. You being a first timer, obviously there's tons of first timers playing every year. Obviously as an amateur, you don't have the luxury of playing, every single day, and it's basically your job to play as a professional. Granted, I'm sure you prepared greatly, but what was your opinion as a first timer and all these other guys coming in as first timers? Do they really, is there a lot of local course knowledge that plays a part into, veterans that tend to play well here year after year?
Yeah, I think I definitely got a lot of preparation in. That being said, the biggest change was from Wednesday night till Thursday morning. The course dried up, it firmed up, and I thought I was prepared. I thought I had all the angles down, where to come in from, but when the greens are that much firmer and that much faster the next morning, it changed a little bit. And I noticed that in the first hole where I thought I hit a chip and I thought I hole it, and I ended up at 15 feet coming back down the hill. So it was an uphill chip that I didn't even think I'd hit nearly that hard. So that's, I think, the experience you have from if I was able to play again in the future, that I'd know that when you're preparing that it's going to react a little differently. I put a lot of work in to be ready for Thursday morning. It just wasn't exactly what I expected.
Right. Now, did any of those guys, like obviously you were able to play a practice round or at least 9 holes with Tiger. I mean, I assume being a veteran, they know that this course is going to play drastically different on Thursday, Friday, on through Sunday than what they see it in the months leading up, and then obviously Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, and they all told me that, but that being said, you're going through your stuff in a practice round.
Right.
I mean, it's tough to listen to people. You want to, but you hit a shot and it reacts one way. That's in your mind, not what they say when you're hitting the next shot the next day. So that was one thing I wish I could have been a little more prepared for, but I think that happens to a lot of first-timers when you get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you think, as far as like you're talking about around the greens, was that more of the undulations of the greens, or was it certain shots that maybe if you had another year to prepare, you would really work on a certain type of shot, whether it's a bump and run or off those tighter lies with less bounce or something like that?
So I worked on all those shots, and the biggest difference was that where I was hitting them on Wednesday was a little different than Thursday, and that's what got me. I worked on all the angles, I worked on all the slopes, but the firmness and that first bounce a little bit obviously bigger, that's what got me, and that's what you can't really prepare for unless you do it under those conditions.
Right. So like looking at the golf course as a whole, like when you were going to play your practice rounds, was there anything that was really tricky? Maybe like the first time you played it, and then you played the second time and you realized you played a certain hole better if you laid back off the tee. Or maybe guys in some of your practice rounds recommended, hey, you don't need to hit driver here, or, in a tee shot angle on 11. Are there certain things that maybe after the first couple practice rounds, you maybe took a step back and approached certain holes a little differently?
Yeah, definitely. And one of those was that practice round I played Tiger on Wednesday afternoon. And on the 7th hole, I was just grabbing driver every day. And on Wednesday, it was a little bit downwind. And the previous 2 or 3 days playing, it was into the wind. And so I grabbed the driver and I'm walking back. And that's where the caddies, they kind of stay by the 6th green because they don't want to walk the 150 yards back. So Tiger saw that I had driver and he goes, go grab your 3-wood. And that was great advice. And I hit 3-wood out there in that practice round and was plenty far enough and had the same club I would have had with driver. But that being said, in the tournament, I hit driver both days because it was the wind had split back and it was into my face.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the course is definitely long. I mean, it's playing over 7,400 yards. I think they may have lengthened some holes this next year, so it's got to be getting close to mid 7,400 yards, close to 7,500 yards. Were there I've heard different opinions of the last couple years. A buddy that was on the podcast last year, Logan, he actually played Augusta when he was in college, and he said it's basically because it plays so long, you have to hit drivers on a lot of holes. I'm curious if there's any holes out there where, driver really wasn't necessary. Were you needing to pull driver on almost every par 4 and par 5?
Not every hole. Like the 3rd hole there, it depends where the pin is. And that was kind of what my game plan was. If the pin was back on the 3rd hole, I was going to hit driver as far up as possible just because you have some room to work with. But if that pin's jammed up front, you don't want to hit a flop shot up 30, 40-yard flop shot and try to land it on the front edge. So that was more the strategy of where the pins were, and I think that came into play in a lot of the holes. 13 was in between a driver and 3-wood. I think the first day I hit 3-wood and the second day I hit driver. That was like wind and that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to think other than that. It's a lot of drivers. Right. What Augusta wants you to hit 14 drivers. That's their goal, and that's why they keep putting length into the course. So I think they got a lot of drivers out of me. 10's another hole. You just can't really hit driver unless you can really turn it for a righty. And I don't turn the driver as well as I turn the 3-wood, but if you just get it running there down the slope, you're going to end up in the same spot anyways.
Yeah, that's a huge dog leg. Obviously, I'm able to go out to the event this year, so I'm super excited to walk the course. Like, yeah, I told my parents I'm going with, we're going to start on 1 and just walk the entire 18 for the practice round and, see the undulations, the ups and downs all the way back to 12. But like you bring up a good point as far as 10, how sharp of a dogleg left that is. If memory serves me right, there's a lot of dogleg lefts or holes that favor guys that hit a draw. I'm curious if you kind of had the similar sentiments. I know you used to hit a draw. I don't know if you've changed your shot shape any, but Tiger has definitely changed his shot shape from a draw to a fade in recent years. I'm curious if holes really stood out that way or if that's just something I built up in my head.
No, it's definitely true. That's why a lot of lefties do well out there. And not only just the dogleg lefts, it's also the par 3s kind of sit on an angle where if a lefty pulls one, he's going to have a longer. There's more room to the right, and if he comes up out of one, there's more room to the left, like the 12th hole.
Yeah.
So Phil gets up there and he can pull it and be fine. Where if we're righties, they block it, it's going to end up in the water.
Right. Or you pull it, you're back in the flower bed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. So that being said, I definitely don't hit a draw anymore. Pretty much with any club. The only one I really can turn over is the 3-wood, obviously an iron too, but the driver is more of a straight shot, and if anything, it'll fall to the right. I can't really turn it. So yeah, that was difficult, but I was hitting driver everywhere. I mean, there's not that many holes where you have to really worry about turning it. 5 kinda, but it was into the wind for me, so I could just kind of hit it out there and be level with the bunker and right where you want to be. But yeah, no, 17 straight, 11 straight, 9 straight. So yeah, there's a lot of straight drivers.
Yeah.
But the ones that you do need to work it definitely work right to left. There's none that you get up there and you try to hit a big cut or anything.
Yeah, like I don't remember how the tee set up on 13, but I remember always back in the day, Tiger would hit 3-wood and just rip a draw over there. And I just feel like if you're fading the golf ball, I don't know how those trees set up now, but if you're a right-handed player hitting a fade, you're really working against the fairway. Like you're working away from the hole. I just have to imagine that some of those set up better for guys that are going to hit a big sweeping draw more or less.
Absolutely. If you're looking down 13 and you come up out of one, that second shot's just getting so much longer. You really need to get something turning hard, low, left, and it's just going to get closer and give you an easier shot. Also a flat lie too.
Yeah, definitely. You want to get down there. But like trying to break apart the golf course between like tee shots and second shots, I figured this might not be a great topic for you. But with that being said, do you have a thought on which one maybe caters more importance? As a player, I will say tee shots are always the most important thing to me because like if you're not in play off the tee, you can't hit a good second shot at all. But like for that golf course, I feel like the green complexes are so tough. Approach should be pretty important.
So if you're going to put importance on one thing, it's definitely your approach game. But that being said, you really have to hit the driver good and in play or whatever club you hit off the tee. So
yeah. And distance, I assume, off the tee as well. I mean, you're seeing more and more guys bombing it, and they have a big advantage, I have to imagine, with wedges in.
No, they do, but there's not too many wedges left at Augusta. And, on 9, yeah, like when I played Rory on Monday, I hit a pretty good tee shot, and I had a downhill lie. Rory hit it so far down there that he was on a flat lie hitting uphill. So I guess there's a few spots. But for the most part, like on 10, you're all in the same spot if you turn it, just because it kind of feeds down there. But the accuracy into greens and your distance control, that's usually who wins. I think there's one stat at Augusta where only one person has won hitting less than 75% of the greens for the week, and that was Mike Weir, and he hit 50%. So he put on a clinic around the greens, chipping, and I was able to play with him Thursday and Friday, and he's still chipping it like he probably did when he won. It was incredible to watch.
Yeah, that's the tough part at the end of a golf tournament because you can get the job done so many ways. Like you could really just hit it like crap, and you make a couple putts, you save some pars, getting up and down, and like you're still in the tournament. And the guy that strokes it, I mean, you get like Adam Scott in there, and he can't putt, so it doesn't matter how good you are in your second shots.
Right. This game's crazy.
It is crazy. All right, man. Well, anything else from you? You got any terms coming up you're excited to announce or anything like that?
Yeah, this has been a quiet winter. I started a new job, so which has been good. I needed a little break from golf, and I'm so excited to get going. Just started playing last few weeks. The weather's turned at home. I'm playing tomorrow for the second time up here, and my first event is less than a month away at Seminole, the Coleman, which is the mid-am event that we go to. And then after that, we're pretty straight on trying to make the Walk Cup. So I'm going to play in a bunch of the college events that I wouldn't normally play in, and just going to give it my best shot and going to have a blast doing it.
Sweet, man. Well, if you come down this way, give me a shout. But good luck to you. I hope you play well down in the Coleman, man. That's an awesome golf course.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun there.
All right, dude. Well, I appreciate your time, Matt, and hopefully you can get a few lineups in, and maybe you can win $1 million this year.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm going to pump them in right now. A couple weeks, yeah.
In a couple weeks. In a week. All right, man. Yep. Well, I appreciate it, dude, and take care up there.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, bye.
What are you guys thinking as far as the course and the stats you're kind of looking at?
Yeah, as far as statistics go, this week it'll be similar to most weeks. I have a power rating system that I use, but there will be course history baked more into that this week, and I'll be having a lot more like tiebreaker type stats since I'll be trying to whittle it down. So, and like, there's so many guys, like you said, you can play from 7,500 up that I'll be using par 5 scoring, birdies, birdie to bogey ratio, something like that, to driving distance, just to, I mean, you got to find a reason to not play some of these guys. So right. That, that's going to be how we go about it this week.
Yeah, from a standpoint, I mean, I think we're all very similar on talking about the course history. I am going to dive in deeper kind of on the fast bent grass greens, really put that into play. I know that probably does come with some time spent at Augusta, understanding these greens, why you factor in kind of a portion of the model of putting plus kind of our weighted course history we talk about. So that'll be something I normally don't fully include into my model that I'll bake in a sense this week.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I will note too, the field is 86 players. I guess Corey Connors will make it 87. The cut is top 50 in ties, as well as anyone within 10 shots of the lead. So this is something I mentioned on our podcast last year, where I really like this rule for majors. I wish they would do it for the rest. But if you're within 10 shots of the lead after 36 holes, they refer to you as being competitive or with a reasonable chance of winning the event. Which is awesome. Like if you came out early Saturday, you shot 5-6 under, and the guys in the afternoon with some wind, they sputtered. You're now within 4 shots or something like that. So I really like that aspect of including the 10 shots within. So I know people talk about the cut line. The last 7 years, it's +5 is the average cut line. So gonna play tough. Bogey avoidance will be key. But again, like with the smaller field, top 50 in ties, within 10 shots of the lead, there's going to be a higher percentage of 6 of 6s. So if you get a 6 of 6 through to the weekend this week, that's not going to guarantee you a check. You're not going to make a ton of money just off of 1 6 of 6. So you're really looking for upside. That's probably as simple as I can put it. You're looking for guys, if you have 20 lineups and, we'll say 75% of them are 5 of 6, 4 of 6, 3 of 6, it doesn't matter. You got to get a 6 of 6 through, a lot of upside, top 15, top 10s even with every single guy in the pool. So keep that in mind. I mean, play fairly aggressive. And strictly speaking, GPPs, i.e. the Millie Maker.
Yep. No doubt. I mean, normally you have a massive cut sweat come Friday afternoon, and yeah, you're going to need all weekend long to sweat this out.
Yeah, I'm a GPP only person to begin with, and this would not be the week that I'd start playing cash.
No,
I think yeah, just go for the big bucks.
Yeah, I think there's weeks of the year to focus on cash when you got a stacked field like this in a major. So many different factors. I probably would never deter someone from playing cash if they just like it and they feel safe, whatever it is. But this is like the week to go big. Like that's why they have a Millie Maker for the majors. That's why they have these big, $3 tournaments, the 3K tournament, like all this stuff. Like go big, go home. Let's have fun.
For sure.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's dive into the field. We'll start at the 10K and above and kind of work ourselves down. And hopefully maybe give some suggestions for stands, because I know it's going to be tough. If you have a player pool for 20 lineups versus 150 lineups, it'll be drastically different. So kind of starting the 10K and above, you have Rory at 11.6, Dustin Johnson 11.3, Justin Rose at 10.8, Tiger Woods 10.5, Justin Thomas 10.2, and Jon Rahm at 10K even. Looking through this top range, I mean, I probably will have a taste of Rory with as good as he's playing coming in. Justin Rose, I think at 10.8 is a pretty good price. At the bottom range, Justin Thomas and Jon Rahm, those are two that I'm already leaning towards taking a stand of, excluding them out of my player pool. So I like Tiger Woods a good bit this week. Try not to bury the lead too much. But JT, I don't think with his course history, the way his wrist has been acting up the last couple of events, he rated good in my model, but I know what I've seen from the match play and weeks prior to that. Augusta National has not been kind to him. And then Jon Rahm, I feel like below him there's guys I like, and I can't play everyone over 10K. But, Rory, DJ, Justin Rose, Tiger, they're in my player pool for GPPs right now.
Yeah, so up top, I can't ignore Rory, but my thing is I think DJ will be played less. So that's where I'm going to have to really decide to take a stand between one of those two. But I don't like Tiger and Rose as much as you. I know Rose has the history, obviously. I'm okay with avoiding JT this week. Again, though, it could be tough if you start to get a read that no one's going to play him. I mean, he's still a world-class talent, so it'll be hard to say with the injuries if he's still feeling it. But I do like Jon Rahm quite a bit this week. I think Rahm and Rory are my two favorites from 10K and up, and I settled on Rahm mainly due to his off the tee game. He crushes par fives. He makes a crap load of birdies every week, and he's had some decent success here in his two ventures so far. So that's where I'm looking at the 10K range.
I kind of echo everything, basically what we said. I won't be playing JT personally. Again, to your history point, to that wrist, scares me quite a bit. Even if he's low owned, I think we can get guys that are just as low owned at a tier lower and make our stances there. Personally, I'm not going to be on Rose. I think Rose has kind of been intermittent in his form lately. I think he got lucky to advance out of group play at the match play. Came out of nowhere, kind of with that, not nowhere with that win, but hadn't looked sharp prior to his win. What was that? Almost 3 months ago now, and I don't think he's been great this season from a standpoint over the last couple of months. So no Rose here, and I mean Tiger's elevation ownership. It's tough for me. Of course, seeing Big Cat do good things at Augusta is going to be amazing to watch if he does it, but for an ownership play on DraftKings, people are just going to aggregate to there in the Millie Maker, in my opinion. So I won't be playing Tiger either. So Rory, DJ, and then I will get to Rahm.
Interesting. So talking on Rose just a little bit, he's one guy, just looking back through his history at Augusta, he's had a lot of close calls with Mickelson kind of blowing, just ruining his day on a couple years. I feel like he doesn't grade out terribly well for me in my model, mainly due to he hasn't been playing as much as some of these guys like Rory, Tiger, Dustin Johnson. But I'd be curious to see how their ownership shakes out between Rose and Woods. And again, I probably won't, I guess I could swap shares between the two, but I probably wouldn't X one of them out for me. But either of y'all want to kind of hit on Rose a little bit deeper on why, outside of just narrowing down your player pool? Because I think just looking through his history, Justin Rose is due for a Masters win. I think at some point before the end of his career, he'll win one. I think I like the upside for McIlroy and DJ, but I feel like if everyone is leaning towards McIlroy, the way golf kind of works out, I feel like Justin Rose will be more or less like the guy that people forgot. Because I just feel like people are going to lean McIlroy and DJ.
Yeah, Rose was tough because of how well he started the year, and like you said, he probably already should have had a green jacket. I was going through rounds. He was actually one of the few golfers I found to have played all the par 3s, 4s, and 5s under par for a week, and he did it in 2015, I believe, and didn't win. Was that Spieth's year that he set the record?
Yeah, 17 under or something like that.
You ran into a buzzsaw. Rickie Fowler actually did it last year under par on the 3s, 4s, and 5s and managed to not win also. But what really set Rose as my first checkmark gone was the tiebreak things. Like off the tee, he's only 47th percentile in the field, and that's over his last. It's only 8 rounds for him, but I don't know. So it's very small, but the approach also hasn't been there during those 8 rounds. So again, the narrowest of margins up top here, but that's kind of why I got rid of Rose.
Yeah, from a recent form standpoint, I just, over the last 3 months, and he hasn't played a ton, which it's a little weird. I mean, coming over here and kind of getting in tuned for the Masters, if we look, at previous years, he had played 3 of the previous 5 weeks last year, 4 of the previous 6 the year before. I mean, he's taken, every single year he's playing quite a bit more than he has leading into this year, where he's played only 4 times in the last 10 weeks leading up to it. So in those time period, in those last 4 times out, he has not, played very well. Not one top 10 8th place finish, missing a cut, a 63rd, barely getting out of match play, then getting dominated by Kevin Na. I don't think his game is, at a point where I want to pay that salary no matter the history at Augusta. And I kind of have a different feeling where it just seems every year people end up wanting to play Rose at the Masters because they think it's his time. And, kind of hearing this week a little bit, it doesn't seem – maybe I'm off of what it is, but the last few years, I mean, everyone's been on Rose. It's his time. And I just don't, for that price point and where I want to, maybe make stances more if Rory and DJ are going to still see elevated ownership, I want to be above the field personally. I like to take stances, above or fade or substantially below compared to kind of leveling the field. So that's why I only play 3 guys up there personally.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I'll have to look at him more because it's you're right, and I think someone mentioned that in our chat probably a month and a half ago about Rose taking more than 3 weeks off between events, and he always seems to struggle, which is kind of understandable. Like hopping right into high level competitive golf is not exactly a cakewalk. Tiger is probably one of the phenomenal ones that's always taken literally a month and a half off between events and has come back and immediately back into it, just mentally is superior to all these other guys. So, I can't argue with that. JT, I think, will be surprisingly popular. I don't know why people have been kind of talking him up from what I've heard in the last week and a half getting ready for the Masters, but I know you guys mentioned he might be a lower owned, but from what I've heard, people have already think he sets up good here. So I don't know if they're just talking out the wrong side of their mouth, but
I think he does. I mean, on a normal week, I'd look to play him here, but again, trimming the player pool, him and Rose have played the worst out of these upper-priced golfers over the last 4 events, or 4 weeks, sorry. So I had to trim JT, and it didn't help with the unknown for the wrist, but otherwise, I mean, I think he does set up great. He crushes par 5s. He makes an enormous amount of birdies. He's long off the tee. I think it all sets up.
Great short
game. I wouldn't
game.
Be shocked.
Just can't putt. He can't putt. He has a, I shouldn't say he can't putt. He struggles. We saw him at the PGA last year, longer or bigger greens, undulations, he struggles. So that could be part of why he hasn't had the success here we most of us have expected.
And I put when I talked about that weighted course history with putting combination to bake into my model, everyone above 10K outside of JT is above 70 percentile. JT sitting at 30 percentile for that. So he is substantially below others with quality, sample size of coming to Augusta and playing and on these bent grass and fast greens. So that was a rule out for me, especially with the wrist.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say, over the 10K range, last year, just looking at last year's ownership, there was the highest priced guy was DJ at 11.4, and he came in at 12% owned in the Millie Maker. And then going down below that, Justin Rose was 9,200. He was 34% owned. So I don't know if the price jump might deter some people being closer to DJ Rory. But yeah, I mean, people love, just kind of like Paul Casey, they love playing Justin Rose in majors.
Yep, definitely.
All right, guys, let's transition to the 9K range. Again, we don't have a drop in class per se, but a smaller chunk to kind of dive through. So I'll let one of y'all, if you want to lead off, what are you kind of looking for or leaning against in the 9K range?
Yeah, so at the top, Fowler 9.7K, Brooks 9.5, Bryson 9.3, Tommy 9.2, Day 9.1, and Casey at 9K even. My highest rated golfer in the zone is Tommy Fleetwood at 9.2K, and what worries me about that is he will be somebody who will be very popular. People love to play him. I mean, why not? The guy's awesome. Tommy Fleeces. But and he's been great off the tee, solid in approach. So he will be somebody I am eating chalk on. And then I have to. You've seen the avatar if you follow me at all.
No, it just sounded. The transition into that phrase was kind of funny. Tommy Fleetwood would be somebody I'll be eating the chalk on. Gotcha.
That's where your head wants to go.
That's what I heard, man. That's what I heard.
Well, of all the people in the world, it wouldn't be the worst. So we'll go. But with transitioning that into the next man crush, Rickie Fowler at 9.7. I'd love to play Rickie, but man, statistically, he's playing well, he's finishing well, but he's just riding the putter. So I don't know. My heart's going to be torn with Rickie. I have a bet on him at 20-1. So if he did win, I'd survive. But I have a lot of hard choices to make in the 9K range.
Yeah,
I mean, you can pass it to me, but you know where I stand in the 9K range. Brooks Koepka, 9,500. I don't think people are going to be playing him because they're scared about how bad a form he's came into. And don't get me wrong,
it's not
it
great.
Hasn't been great at all. But we see how he's played at Augusta. He's trended up every single year, going from 33rd, 21st, 11th, missed it last year. The only natural thing to do is drop 10 more positions off it, finish first place, cash that 50-1 bet we made last summer, and all is right in the world again. So for me, I am happily to go back to the biggest stud majors out there at what I think people are going to be scared of, from an ownership standpoint. So I really like, making a stand with Brooks there. And then from a standpoint of Fleetwood, it's difficult for me because statistically, absolutely, he rates out, I think, third overall in my model. But it's just there's so many quality guys right there that, I mean, I personally would probably lean a little bit more to Casey and save a few dollars. And, it might be, I guess, probably comes similar ownership. Would you guys think between those two, or is Fleetwood going to make that much more of a weight on the public?
I don't have a guess right now, to be honest.
No, you're talking about between Fleetwood and Casey?
Yeah, because
it's going to be close.
I imagine they'll both be just very popular.
I think Casey might get the nod, honestly. I think Casey might get a little bump just off his course history. Fleetwood has only been here twice. Nothing miraculous, but Paul Casey, I feel like, will be a staple. Probably optimizers. I probably have him. He'd probably be graded out a little higher. So I can see Casey getting a.
So maybe I should play Day.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the thing.
Day would be the sneaky one.
Day. What about Bryson? I mean, Bryson's right there too, and he's in awful shape too.
No.
But I mean, he seems.
I'd much rather play Day than Bryson this
It would be on brand for Bryson if I didn't win the Millie Maker because I didn't play Bryson. That would be perfect because, I'm not in love with Bryson this week, but he would be the one guy that I would just hate. He would be like, I'm deciding to win by 3 shots this week. Good job if you didn't roster me.
He's the one that seems to flash out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And I don't think anyone will, lean to him either. So, I mean, just from a standpoint of following him on Instagram, he was like somewhere in Colorado this week. He said just specifically spending every waking second preparing for Augusta at this training lab that, so, I mean, they call him, the scientist, or any course you can play in a simulator. They talk about, and if people are going to, get off him a little bit, I mean, you play Brooks and Bryson together in a lineup. That's from a standpoint of you can get chalkier in other spots if you take that leverage on 2 very quality players.
I'd like to see them play in the same pairing.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a standpoint, though, I kind of like it there. I mean, when you look at where people are going to go with, I guess now Casey and Fleetwood. I mean, Day makes sense, though, too, if we're talking that same kind of argument.
But I can't get past the negative approach over the last 16 rounds for Bryson. I just can't. The off the tee's been decent enough, but he's losing almost a quarter of a stroke around with the irons. Like I don't see how if he, again, I guess you can flip a switch, but again, making decisions, that's what is out for me.
For sure, and the players is by far the best. I guess no. I mean, if you look at, he was a little bit better in Mexico on approaches, but no, don't get me wrong. He's been off, but I mean, he's someone you can flip a switch, in my opinion, and it comes there. So I'm intrigued by Bryson. I'm not going to say like I'm going to make a hard stance right now, but I'm definitely intrigued if he continues to be that lower owned.
One thing too, I've mentioned on a couple shows the past couple months, getting ready for the Masters, but. Do you guys remember what Bryson's price was last year for the Masters by chance? Rough estimate.
6,900.
Yes, sir. Amazing jump. 6,900, and wasn't even that highly owned, I don't think.
I can't imagine. No, and what he finished 38th. Yeah, nothing great. Well, his 21st was when he was an amateur, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really tough for me right now in the 9K range. So. Rickie is definitely in my pool. I think he's just too good. Like we joke about playing good players. He seems to get in contention and never lose it. It's just a matter of can he close. So I really like Rickie. I have a tough time not seeing him finish inside the top 15. He'll probably be one of my higher owned guys. Fleetwood and Casey, I'm kind of torn on. I feel like they'll be potentially they could be the higher owned guys that burn a lot of people. But I'm kind of with Skylar this week as far as Brooks. Like Brooks has not done a ton of things well lately. Like we had a talk about him for the WGC match play, thinking like, all right, head to head, he's got more of like a gritty personality. Maybe he's paired up with Alex Noren and like takes it personal if he's beating him, and he didn't do anything. I mean, played awful. So I think getting ready for the Masters, Brooks has a nice ball flight for this course. Obviously, it's a major. He likes to show up for majors. So I'm kind of torn with the low end, but I really like Rickie, obviously. But Brooks, I'd probably lean over Bryson. Honestly, I think it'd probably be a ownership play. I think Brooks will probably be lower owned in this range, which is sad to say.
I think he definitely will too. And from a standpoint, I mean, I'd assume people, that are coming in do know his major history, but he's never came in playing well here. I mean, looking at the previous, 4 or 5 tournaments back in the last 3 years, I don't think he's even had, if we look at it, maybe one, never a top 5 in the lead-in form in the previous 4 tournaments coming in. I mean, when he finished 11th, he came in 16th, so he got out of match play, the group, and then he miscut, 48th, miscut, 42nd, miscut. Out of nowhere, finishes 11th, and I think he came out 2 weeks later and got second at Valero or Shell Houston, whatever that. I think it was Valero, but he doesn't need form either, and it's where my brand lies.
Brooks will get you a T20 minimum.
That's the major narrative, always.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think he's got upside.
The upside's there, obviously. Obviously, he no issue winning majors.
Well, that's what makes this week so tough because you're looking through here, and honestly, all these guys over the mid 8K range are major winning, pedigree type of golfers. It's just you're just looking at recent form coming in, like you talked about lead-in form in prior Masters. That's really key for me. But I could just see him. This would be the perfect week of a troll where he hasn't he didn't come in with great form. Everyone's talking about Rory for good reason, but Brooks is kind of he's not playing good right now, but all of a sudden he shows up and he shoots 66 on day one and runs away with it. That's the kind of player he is. So, yeah, I have a tough time leaning heavily on the guys popular in this range, like Fleetwood and Casey. I will say, too, looking back, we'll say the Arnold Palmer, the Arnold Palmer and the players, the lineup construction for winning GPP lineups have shifted a lot from needing a 10K plus guy to being a bit more balanced of 9,400, 9,500 being the starting point. And I think it might be hard to maybe say that's going to be the case this week, but I really don't mind a lineup starting with a Fowler, Fleetwood, Casey. Like, that's really not out of the realm of possibilities.
No, because any of them can win.
Correct, and they can all finish in the top 10. Like, and then the AK. Like just don't be feeling like you have to force in a 10K guy. I know that was a trend early on in the year with like DJ and Justin Rose at the Farmers, where guys were, you have to play a 10K and above guy because they're finishing the top 10 every week. I don't think that's going to be the case this week, where there's a chance the optimal lineup or the winning lineup for the Millie Maker could be a 9K starting point.
And I mean, even playing the three highest ones, Rickie, Brooks, Bryson, in one lineup together, leaves you above 7,100 per player for the remaining slots. So you're not having to dive down, into the 6K, like even if you didn't want to. So, it definitely can become unique, hammering home there potentially with still, not having to go to the bottom of the player pool.
Sweet. I like it. All right, let's switch down to the 8K range, and I guess I'll lead off with Skylar for this range. What are you kind of leaning towards? Again, it's packed. We got a mixed stand somewhere. Where are you leaning?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me that I really like, I guess two. I really like Bubba, and I really like Hideki. Looking at the lead-in form, for Bubba, shown flashes, obviously multiple places over the last few weeks, even at courses that he didn't see fit. What was that, Valspar? He got that fourth a few weeks ago. I was very, very, very disappointed that he didn't get out of group play. At match play, showed a little life in the last round there on the Friday, where he won his only match of the week. But I just think he's special at Augusta, and he really knows, from a standpoint of Bubba courses. We know two-time winner here, was exceptional last year here. Arguably probably one of the best tee to green performances, I think, from a standpoint. I know that was mentioned in that 2019 Masters book by Joe Pita, I believe is pronouncing his name, where his off-the-tee performance was like off the charts for Augusta history. He just couldn't get the putter going. So from a standpoint of how he's been, I know he's at the course. He was at the ladies amateur event over the weekend, which is cool to see for Bubba being at Augusta. And then Hideki's form, I mean, it's getting back to old Hideki, where that approach being through the roof, leading in here. So those two would be my favorite. And I'm so intrigued to hear what people think on Spieth between you two.
Yeah, go ahead, Drew. I got nothing to say on Spieth.
Oh, man. So, yeah, Watson, I'm in on Watson. I think even with his poor performance at the match play, I'm still sold. Like, these guys, if you haven't, like, been paying attention, a lot of these guys, I've been watching their form trending towards the Masters for a few weeks just to see, like, have they been playing, consistently well? Tee to green, off the tee, what have they been doing well? Bubba has been in that boat for a while. He's been, gaining like 6, 7, 8 shots off the tee, like crazy numbers. And I like that trend for him at Augusta, obviously winning twice. Can't argue with 8,800 for him. I'm also sold with you on Hideki, and I mean, we'll just talk about Spieth for just a second. Let's there's two sides of the coin. One, I think people have overhyped like an ownership play. Like, is he going to be popular? Then I'll fade him. If he'll be underowned, then I'll play him. I think Spieth has a weird like twitch mindset. Like, he shows up at certain courses, and Augusta probably is one of them, where he's going to show up and play well. We saw a little bit of form flash at Valero, and then obviously just basically blew up on the front nine Saturday. I think he kind of hedged his way back into, I think he shot like +1 or +3 or something like that. I don't know what he shot today, but I think Spieth's in play, for me at least. I'm going to play him. 8,900, I don't care if people don't play him at all. It's not even an ownership play. It's strictly, how does he play at this golf course? I read a quote at the beginning of January, I think, when they were talking about how bad he putted last year. And he self-admitted, which doesn't make any sense to me, but he self-admitted he putts better at Augusta because he can be more creative and he doesn't have to like line up his ball. So what that tells me is he goes there and he plays differently than he plays anywhere else. So I'm in on Spieth. I don't love it. I'm not going to be crazy overweight, but I'm not fading him for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I'll full fade, but I will be at or below field level. Just the form of this course is insane. Like, I don't know. He's been playing like complete crap. He hasn't finished higher than 30th all year yet, I don't think, depending on where he finished this week, which was at T30. So good for him. It's strictly a course history play for me because there's zero other reason for me to play him. So it won't be much, and I'll probably regret every share of it.
What's funny is you just mentioned the top 30 thing, and like just thinking about it in my head of do you really like talk to myself? Do you realistically think he's going to win this week? It's like, no, I don't see him outplaying any of those guys up top. But at this course, I can't count him out of finishing like top 5. At 8,900, he could be in the winning Millie Maker lineup. We've seen him twice in the winning Millie Maker lineup the last 4 years. So I
mean, the irons were there this week for the most part. He putted. I mean, he gained almost 2 strokes.
Just drove it bad.
He made 18 birdies this week. I mean, he was awful off the tee, which I don't think he's ever been. He's not been known for being great off the tee to begin with, and he has success at Augusta. So
I think I don't know if this helps anyone, but like if you were playing one lineup in the Millie Maker, I would play Spieth personally. I think the course history is there. You talked about a little bit of form showing this week. I think I would rather regret not playing him than regret playing him at the Masters.
See, I wouldn't play him in a single entry, but that's just
a single entry in the Millie Maker. Not talking about single entry anywhere else. Like if it was the 3K event, no.
I still don't know if I do that, but that's just in this 8K range. I really like Hideki at 8.7K for almost all the reasons Sky mentioned, and then I can't really ignore Molinari. Like he's just been playing. What scares me here is his course history is nothing. Like I think his 20th place maybe, and he's played this quite a few times. So I think that does worry me as much as it would make me put Spieth in the lineup. It could make me have lower than I would normally on a Molinari who's playing outstanding golf right now and fits a lot of the criteria. But Hideki's definitely my favorite. And then I don't know if you had mentioned how low in the 8K range, but Tony Finau will be extremely popular, but for good reason as well.
Yeah, I'll just say this on Francesco Molinari. I don't view his course history the last 2 years like behind that. I don't view that as like relative. He's been on a different playing field since basically middle of last summer. The year prior, he kind of was getting into a groove. So anything prior to that, I'm not even viewing. So I like Francesco a lot. He'll probably be one of my highest owned this week. I'd probably say probably one of my top 6. I just think he's a different golfer. Coming to this week, he's already got a major at the British Open. I like what I saw at the match play. I'm in on Francesco.
I'm in on Francesco too. He would be my third guy down there. And then I'm still so torn on what I'm going to do with Spieth. If we talk about, again, of course, that weighted course history angle with the putting, he tops that model pretty substantially. So it's just he was watching him this week. I spent some quality time Thursday, Friday, just watching his putter is on. I mean, his putter is and he said it on the No Laying Up podcast, how good he's been putting and how he feels, to your point, Drew, of it just feels different at Augusta.
Yeah.
But is it going to feel different tee to green? That's where because, I mean, today he was putrid with the approach. I think he lost over 2 strokes approach, salvaged around with his putter once again. I'm so up in the air on that. That's something I'm going to have to let the week fall out. But, I mean, there's still other intrigue. I mean, we didn't bring up Phil. We didn't bring up Louis, Xander. There's other quality guys in the 8K. I mean, it's to play someone like Spieth just due to the course history when we have other quality guys who have shown course history here too. It's tough.
Yeah. I'm in on Finau and Phil, but Adam Scott, I had a tough fade on him. And Xander, I'm still up in the air about. Last year's finished 50th. I'm not putting a ton of weight into that. I like him probably the most out of the guys I'm questioning. But Adam Scott, I thought I would like quite a bit this week. And he really, besides the Sony or whatever it was in Hawaii, he popped and faded. But yeah, I'm kind of with Axis on. Finau is a good play, 8,200. But like Oosthuizen, I'm not going to play him. Reed, obviously, you shouldn't play Patrick Reed anyways. But yeah, it's a tough range. I think I'm just going to stick in the high eights for the most part.
I agree.
Yep.
If Russell Henley was in the field, I would probably run a Patrick Reed with Bubba and Spieth, and
you'd have to duplicate that.
I would.
Lineup.
I was going to dupe it, but Russell Henley did not make it. He was another guy, man. He was in 2 of the winning Millie Maker lineups, I think, the last 4 years. Crazy.
That's wild.
It really is. All right, let's hop down to the 7K where it doesn't really get any easier as far as differentiating these players. We'll start right off the bat with Matt Kuchar, 7,900. I have to imagine he'll be very popular. Coming off a lot of golf, obviously playing into the finals at the WGC Match Play. He played well at Valero. 7,900. He has had terrific form here at Augusta. He's had four top 10 finishes in the last 8 years. I like Matt a ton, man. I have a really, unless he was maybe 30% or something like that, I can't really see myself fading him at 7,900. I wish he was, closer to 9K. I'd probably have a stronger stand. But in that high 7K range, do you guys have any immediate takes on Matt Kuchar? Because I feel like he's going to be a kind of make or break in your lineups.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sky.
For me, for Kuchar, the way to make the stance is I will not be building a lineup without Kuchar this week. He's I think he wins. Like, this is my favorite bet I think I have was betting him, I think yesterday afternoon at 50-1 for it. I mean, he's gotten, this year, I think a mentality that's been different than Kuchar in the past. And, people have been all over him about, the caddy situation, the Sergio situation. And he just, he's not that happy old man that everyone loves lately. And I think he's completely okay with that. I mean, he walked in again at Valero with an incredible ball striking performance, ended up second in the field approach on the week, 5th tee to green. He was quality all week long. He was great at the match play, phenomenal ball striking at the Players. His form, his Augusta history, he putts well on these surfaces. And Drew, I think he's going to get over 30%. And I will not, again, like I said, I will not make a lineup without him because he's the one that I think is going to win. And to make that leverage for him, you have to be significantly overweight on someone that chalk. And he's probably the chalkiest player of the week. Yeah. And I'm completely okay with it.
I like it.
Yeah,
Axis, talk us off.
I can't. Not off Kuchar. I can't. I think he's what makes it easier for me to not even lean to too many guys in the lower 8K. Like, I don't personally need to look at Phil or even contemplate Adam Scott because I can just play Kuchar, and I really don't have much else to add from what Sky just said. And except for that, I won't have him in every lineup, but he will be in a large portion of them, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I like the lock call. I probably wasn't going to go that strong on him just because I like to feel like I have a chance if someone plays bad. But I mean, he's got to be someone you got to feel go overweight or fade completely and take one side or the other. Like, I don't feel like going with the field is going to give you leverage in this type of event this year.
Yep,
he's just too bipolar.
I agree.
Hey, he's too bipolar. Like, guys are going to say, okay, well, strategically fade him, or he's a lock for my 50 lineups, and you gotta be on one side or the other. You can't just I'll just go 30%. Like, that's not good. Don't do that.
And I don't think worst case scenario. I don't think he kills you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't see it either. Like, he's been playing so good with everything going on as well.
He's got to beat like 16 guys and he'll make the cut. Like, yeah, obviously that you won't win if he only does that. But yeah, Kuchar's not normally a guy who just completely craps the bed.
He should finish in the top 10. Like, if you just look through this field and how he's been playing, top 10 isn't like a stretch at all.
Not at all. No, I thought the 50-1 was great value yesterday. He's floating still 40-45, and I don't think people are going to give that much pub to how well he finished this week, finishing 7th in the field.
I know.
It's just, I mean, that was an incredibly sneaky, consistent finish all week long, played extremely well. I liked what I saw again, and sure, he's played a lot of golf, but coming off of 7 rounds last week, he carried it right over here in Valero.
And he's comfortable at Augusta. Like, this is like a perfect sequence of events, like
and
into the WGC.
It's why he's chalk too. It's why he's going to be chalk. But that's to get the leverage. That's how I feel.
I like it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also in on the 50-1, by the way, and that is available if anybody's wondering. It might not be by the time this drops, but if you have Bovada, it's available still.
Grab it. I'm in as well. I was in maybe a month ago. That was probably still too late because I think people were in after the Sony. All right, going down below that, we have a good group there. Leishman, Cantley, Mr. 13 himself, Sergio Garcia, or whatever he made on 13. I don't even remember. It wasn't good. Henrik Stenson, Ian Poulter, and finishing off up above 7,500, Gary Woodland, Rafa Cabrera, Bayo. I have a tough time playing. I think Cantley will be popular, and he's not in my player pool right now, to be honest. I like the bounce back on Sergio off of last year, winning 2 years ago, terrible performance last year, and really played the year poorly. I really don't know where his head's at. I mean, the dude's a psychopath, apparently, just tearing up bunkers in Saudi Arabia, which is very ballsy, to be honest. Like, surprised he even made it out of there. So Sergio 7,700, Henrik 7,600. I probably won't play. I was thinking I would play him, and I don't think he's had the best. He's had a couple good finishes, but nothing.
Last year was his first really strong performance. I think he was T5 last year.
Yeah. So, which kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. So Stinson is probably going to be a guy I fade this week, and I really like him this year overall. But I just think on this golf course, there's been too many like mediocre finishes. I'll probably just avoid that for upside. But Poulter is a guy that I'm probably going to camp out at 7,600. He's another guy kind of like Kuchar where he's consistently played well. He has upside on this golf course. We've seen it time and time again. Mixed bag. I mean, he's had some poor finishes, but I think from the top end down, going from a Matt Kuchar, I'll probably hit a Sergio and then evenly spaced down to Poulter. I like Poulter quite a bit. Great putter, good greens where 3-putt avoidance is key. So Ian Poulter, I like that.
Yeah, I too will be pretty overweight on Ian Poulter, I would guess, compared to the field. I will be passing on Mr. Stenson, although he could work his way back in. I guess it all depends on what happens a little bit later down the week. He doesn't have a ton of high finishes, but he's got a bunch of top 20s here. So at 7,600, I mean, hopefully he can get something going on the greens.
He did play good at the match play. He made a good run there.
Yep. And there'll be no Cantley for me either. And then Sergio's definitely somebody I can get in on. His recent form has definitely led me to his strokes gained differential is 1.3, which is 80th percentile in the field. But you have to remember how deep this field is. So
yeah,
he's been playing pretty solid. He's 71st off the tee. And if people are going to be afraid to play him because of his Baker's dozen last year, then I'll get back in. I can't say I'll have a huge amount, but I have no problem playing Sergio this week.
I am different than you guys on Stenson. I really like him this week. We hopped on him 80-1, I think it was last Friday, after he absolutely torched Jimmy Furyk, which was upsetting. But his ball striking lately has been incredible. I mean, gaining over 2.3 strokes per round at the Valspar. He gained over 2 strokes total at the Players. He did miss the cut. Averaged 1.5 per round at API. Carry that over into quality at the match play. Of course, he got taken out by Man Rocket, but who didn't? And at that point, I mean, it's a great price for a quality player who's really rounding into form. I thought the 80-1 was exceptional. So for me, I prefer him to others, and I do like Sergio. So it would be Kuchar, Stenson, Sergio for my 3.
How's Stenson been putting? I didn't really look into that, but he's always been notoriously bad putting. His ball striking has saved him, but I can see looking through his recent 2 years, like it's very, very up and down. I'm going to look at kind of how he's done at the Masters specifically.
I do not think he's been putting well at all.
Nope. And from a standpoint of where he is on bent grass relative to his standard, I mean, he drops a little bit. He's not great, but it's not a significant enough that makes me, take a notice to it. He does well on like his average on fast greens too. So he takes a little bit of hit, I guess, overall. But
actually, honestly, what's been killing him is it looks like is around the green game. He's fourth percentile in this field,
which isn't ideal for Augusta.
No.
And again, it depends on how recent too. Like guys,
it's not very predictive to begin with, but it doesn't like make me feel great that he's been that bad compared to the field around the green. But he's leading the field in approach, so I'll take that over his crappy around the. Hopefully, he doesn't need to chip much around the green. Just be pin seeking.
So to give you, go ahead.
Drew.
I was just gonna say real quick, to give you an idea, last year in the Millie Maker, he was 7,800 and was 21% owned. So I don't know where he would stand, but I have to imagine he'd be around 20%. So kind of keep that in mind.
He did come in last year though with 4 top 10s in his previous 6 events. But he didn't also have any good master finishes relatively. So it depends on, from a standpoint, he sure is in ball striking form, but his finishes have not been reflective of where that is. But are people going to love to see that he finished 5th last year? So it's kind of conflicting on both those sides. But personally, I think the price is there, and, I will take the ball striker. I mean, we've seen, not great putters do well here too. So you find it for that week. But, I mean, historically, it hasn't been great for him here. So, but no, just the way his irons have been flashing for me, I like that.
Yeah, it's a good golf course. That's something Matt mentioned a few times, was like putting the ball in the right part of the green. Like, I mean, missing on the right side is important, but if you're like above the hole in 3, like you're screwed. Like distance control, direction, all that stuff's important. So even as good as Bubba has done off the tee here, I think you're right. I mean, the approach is going to be key, but I don't know. I feel like I don't want to mix my ownership too much. Just speaking from a Millie Maker standpoint, and with Sergio there $100 more, I would rather just allocate the shares to him and go overweight. Personally, that's kind of where I'm leaning in that range. That's mainly why. Otherwise, I got Sergio, Henrik, Poulter. It would be very spread out. I don't want to be too spread out.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm going to have to do the same thing, so I'm going to have to decide.
Can we just bet Stinson? What's he at?
Oh, we already did.
We did. That was the one we hit 80-1.
Oh, great. Thanks, man.
It was in the channel, dude. It was in the Slack.
In the premium Slack chat for anybody wondering.
Have your noties ready. I guess apparently you weren't. You were sleeping that day. But he's down to like 50 now.
Okay. I might just do that. Any other, just real quick off the hop, is there anyone in this range that was notably high versus where, like obviously Sergio's probably fairly low, but Stinson, Poulter, Woodland, Cabrera, any of those guys like crazy 80, 100-1 or something like that?
Gary's a weird one. I know Axis. We talked a little bit.
80-1, and yeah, Gary's annoying for Augusta because everything tells you he should play just fine here, and he just hasn't. Like, in fact, it's not even that he hasn't played fine. He just hasn't played good here at all. But I mean, he's missed his last 3 cuts here. He's got a 26th and a 24th place before that. But again, he's a guy who scores. He's a very consistent golfer. He scores extremely well in par 5s. He makes a lot of birdies. Yeah, he has some bogey issues from time to time, but he's long off the tee. Like, it just everything should be there except the finishes. So I have to assume it's the putting for Gary at Augusta that gets him. I haven't gone back and looked at his putts per round at Augusta, but I have to imagine it's not pretty.
Yeah, it's brutal. Last year, round 1, he had 2 birdies and 8 bogeys. Round 2, 2 birdies, 2 bogeys, 2 doubles, plus 10 for the event. Miscut.
Yeah.
That's not good upside.
I'd say Cabrera Bio would be the next one who has substantially longer odds. You're seeing 3 digits on him. He's at least 101 in most places.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious because I think if you're trying to be, I assume, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like if there's some guys down here where you're torn on, it might just be worth the top 5 bet or taking outright with a top 5 or something like that, and kind of not necessarily hedge, but at least gives you something where you're not completely, out without a paddle or something.
Yeah, on a normal week I wouldn't, but it's the Masters, so do what you gotta do to feel better. And this type of field,
I want to feel better, Axis.
Yeah, I know. But you might actually get some decent top 10 odds. Some of the books don't always adjust for how small the fields are. I mean, they'll be down a little bit, but they don't have to beat, the normal 150 man squad. So
that's true. All right, let's kind of hit the lower end of the 7K, and then we'll hop down to the 6K where we get some veterans, which no one will play, which is great. So in the kind of like just dropping below 7,500. I'll just kind of rattle off the guys I'm most interested in playing. Cameron Smith, 7,400. I think, if memory serves me correctly, the only guy I needed to switch last year to be in the optimal lineup was Cam at 7,400. He's outscored Henley, I believe, so saving some salary, dropping down. Cam Smith I like quite a bit, and it's really come in with good form, good around the greens. He doesn't grade out well in a lot of categories, but he gets the job done. So I don't mind that at all. Below that, you got Haotong Li right there at 7,200. I think he's fine. I wasn't really sold on him this week, and Mayo tried to talk me into him. But I think like for the Masters with his type of ball flight, I really don't hate the Haotong Li play. I don't know if any of y'all have any takes in that, I guess, kind of medium quadrant of the lower 7K range, but I know this Pepperell there is a favorite of some people, but
I wouldn't say I have any takes here. I actually won't be playing Eddie. He's never played here. He's really short off the tee. I just don't think this is the week that I'm going to get, overly crazy and keep riding. I mean, he's been playing pretty well, but
around the green.
Yeah. Overall, just been scoring well.
Yeah.
But the only guy I really highlighted down, I highlighted Webb and I highlighted Fitzpatrick down here. And Fitzpatrick is surprisingly, for this range of golfers, he's actually leading them all off the tee over the last 13 rounds. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me. And he's played, I think he has a T10 here back in 16. He's been in the 30s since. I won't be crazy, but in this range, he's really the only one that I have highlighted in potentially some Webb, but I think I'll be skipping over this range for the most part.
So for me, I do like Fitzpatrick too, surprisingly, because I'm never, really a big Fitzpatrick guy. But no, I kind of like him, and he's shown quality kind of lead-in form after what he did at API, battling with Molinari, made the cut at the Players, top 30. Or he made the cut. He did make the cut at the Players. I think he was like 41st at the Players.
I feel like he can struggle with the distance. That's my biggest thing. Like I just don't want to have a guy that's having 15 yards in longer than most higher class players. Personally,
yeah, it's not great.
API's long though. Like
somewhat. I mean, there's a lot of less than driver holes where guys are laying up to a yardage. To be honest. I mean, it is longer though, but
said that it seems like Fitzpatrick plays better at courses that don't fit him, and then he gets on courses that do fit him and plays worse.
That's true.
And I don't really have anything to go back and agree with that, but just off the top of your head, it would almost make sense. But yeah, the distance is concerning, but he still has managed to score decently on par fives and make a fair amount of birdies.
I picture him in the Willett category. I just don't think a Willett type can win this anymore. Like I think Augusta is like sick of that. They want.
Do we have a weather report for this?
I have it pulled up. So weather-wise, we see if you're looking currently Thursday and Friday, gusts are all over 15 miles per hour all day long. Sustained above 10 miles an hour all day Thursday. Sustained above 9 on Friday. Sunday is wicked. You have sustained at least 12 all day long with gusts closing in on 30. Saturday's very calm, but that's when, we talk about Fitzpatrick. I think condition-wise, I like him, but I also really like Matt Wallace too.
Yes.
Matt Wallace, his performances, in Florida were very, very strong. I mean, a 20th, a 6th, a 30th. He was positive in every single strokes gained metric outside of the Honda around the green and putting, where he just lost cumulative less than half a stroke. So, I mean, he was still, and that's, when he finished 20th. So I really like him. Once again, he lost to the Man Rocket at match play, and who didn't? But, Wallace still played pretty well there. So I like him as, a newcomer who's not really going to get any ownership, and he's not scared of the moment. He's a winner. Yeah. So I like him at that price point with Fitzpatrick as well.
Yeah, I like Wallace too this week. I guess I could have included him. There's just so many guys from 7,200 to 7,400 priced, but yeah, for sure, Wallace. I can get behind Grace even this week too, especially with that weather report you just read.
And I mean, obviously it's only Sunday, but Grace has trended up at the Masters last couple of years, top 30s both years, made it out of match play, beat DJ.
Finally started scoring on the par fives.
So yeah, no, he's another intriguing one if it gets real choppy. I mean, we'll end up probably on Euros when the weather picks up, but no, I think from my two favorite of those would be there. What's interesting is I found too, when I looked specifically kind of at those greens, and it's not the largest of sample size, but it kind of played into his finish, I think 4 or 5 years ago. Thornbjorn Thunderbear has a top 6 here in his debut, which was in 2013. He hasn't really shown much life, but what do you guys think of that? I mean, he putts, from what I've seen on these greens, it's a pretty good, of those small sample sizes, it's quality numbers.
He actually didn't putt well in either of his Masters appearances, but that year he was 6th. He took advantage of the par fives. He was 13 under for the week on the par fives and was crushing. I have basic stats, but I think he hit 74% of his greens that week as well. So he was. So this is
when I look at that. So if I break down bent grass, fast greens, and fast bent grass combined over the last 6 years. So Thornborn is number 1 in the field on bent grass, gaining 0.845. If you go on fast greens, he is, and it's a 32-round sample, so we're still looking smaller, but 27 rounds on fast greens, where he's 0.5 strokes gained. Again, above his threshold, 3rd in the field. And then fast bent grass, he's had 20 rounds of laser on that, and he's gaining over a stroke per round on those greens, which is almost a half stroke better than the person in second place, which is Rickie. So it's 20 rounds. It's a small sample. So what we're looking at, 5 tournaments. But then you also see his great performance that he had, when he was a debutante. I'm intrigued there from a stance too of no ownership on Thornborn.
Yeah, he's not going to have any ownership. We played him at the Arnold Palmer. He had a top 5 or something like that a couple years back, and I think he ended up missing the cut, or he may have barely made the cut. But he was another one where it looked very similar. So he's not on my list. The putting splits is intriguing, but he doesn't seem. I feel like there's some guys that have more course history, like they tend to follow the course history trends more so than others. And with that big of a gap, I wouldn't put a lot of weight into that. But he has the upside. I personally would lean Wallace over him quite a lot.
And I agree. I like Wallace more too.
Yeah. I like Wallace a ton. I think he's the Thomas Peters from a few years ago.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I feel like he's a major winner type of caliber player. Like the demeanor is there. The ball striking is there. You look at his last couple events on the PGA Tour, all pretty immaculate as far as ball striking stats. So in on Wallace. The other guy down here that we didn't talk about was Charles Howell. Qualifying off the RSM, and he had I honestly, coming into this week a couple months ago, I probably wouldn't have played him at $7K. Piqued my interest, and then looking through just the last month and a half at courses where he historically has played bad, he's been playing good there. Like his ball striking has been trumping any of his bad course history.
And is he historically bad? I only could find 2 Masters for him, and he was 19th in a missed cut.
Yeah, it's mixed. So nothing like crazy and not a lot of course history, just really.
And it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah. So there was really no history to go off of.
Right.
But yeah, I think Charles Howell's going to play great here. His ball striking stats, I think he's been putting decent, but like his ball striking stats should carry him. He's gained like 20 yards or maybe like 18 yards the last season. I like him a ton in 7K. I think he is super sneaky. And if you just look at the guys around him and below him, they haven't been having seasons like him this year. So I like Charles Howell quite a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say the reason I won't have a lot of Thorbjorn Olesen or even Brendan Grace, who I do like, is because I'll probably have just a bunch of Chucky 3 sticks, which is kind of scary. But like you said, I mean, since the win, he's been playing better. He's been playing better at courses. You know, we normally ignore him when we start getting past the early part of the year in California. But in this range, he has been playing. He has the best form of anybody in this 7,000 to even up to 7,200. Maybe not better than Wallace. It'd probably be roughly the same. But I mean, yeah, I'm definitely going to play quite a bit of Charles Howell.
Well, it's funny in DFS because we're so tuned into these guys, and I'll just use a drastic example of Cesareve from basically January. He always hits the West Coast swing good. The fall swing is generally pretty good, and then like, all right, he's getting out of California. You don't play him anymore. Charles Howell used to be that guy, and it hasn't been the case. He's been playing better. So, generally speaking, I was probably like, yep, he's gonna fall. He's going to fall in my rankings. I'm excited to play Charles Howell at Augusta. He's a hometown guy. I wouldn't generally put a lot of weight into that anyways, but for what it's worth, he is a local. I think he'll be excited to play, geared up. I'm in on that.
I mean, this kind of caught me. I wouldn't have guessed it, but he hasn't finished worse than 35th all season. Like it's just been extremely consistent. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that carries over here.
Yep, I'm good with that. Keegan I'm out on, and then we can hop down into the 7K range. I think he'll grade out good statistically, but I'm not playing any Keegan.
0 Keegan for me.
0.
None.
Zero.
I mean, I really don't have too many more guys in general that I even highlighted. We're getting into that sketchy area.
I got one.
Oh, I have some. I just don't have many more. I mean, yeah,
I
go
know
ahead.
who yours is, Drew. I know it.
It sucks. It so sucks.
You
Charlie
and
Hoffman,
else, yeah.
6,800, playing good the week before the Masters, over the radar. What are you doing?
Yeah,
he was going to be probably 50% owned in all of my Millie Maker lineups. He was going to be the stand because he's never over 10% owned. I don't need him to win, but I just need you to get in contention and just finish top 10. That's it. And now he went out of the gate early in the Valero and everyone's on him, and I probably haven't done myself any favors, but God, Charlie Hoffman, 6,800, dude.
He was so good Friday, Saturday, Sunday, tee to green, phenomenal, making those runs that he did. Yeah, I mean, I still like it though. I mean,
no, I'm playing him. Upside's there. He's shot 65 or 64 maybe once every other year the past 6 years. Past 8 years, something like that. Upside is there for him on this course. Yeah,
and he didn't win, so I mean the bump may not be as large as, it would have been if he had taken it home. So it's not sneaky that he finished second, but I will like Charlie as well. I'll go into my guy, and I think we know my guy. But Lucas Bjerregaard, the man rocket at 6,400, awful performance at Valero this week. And he put up a post saying his mind just wasn't there. He wasn't ready after, realistically, the weekend of a lifetime of what he had at the WGC match play, coming out of a strong group, taking down Stenson, taking down Tiger. It does take a toll on you. And don't get me wrong, I was in on him this week and it burned me, but I'm not going to let the 6,400 price tag go for arguably, one of the, most talented from a standpoint. I mean, we saw the flash, from what he is at 6,400 from a game style of things. He's long off the tee, great ball striker, flashed some great putting over the last month that I was very impressed with that he wasn't showing over in Europe. It's another debutant, but he can score at that price. You make the cut, you get quality birdie points. He's going to throw back some bogeys for you. You know that, but it's how I've preached over the last, month playing him. I'm not going to pass up at 6,400 based off of 2 rounds of the Valero.
Yeah, it's understandable why he had a letdown. I mean, that's. Can you just imagine going through playing with Tiger? You go through all those matches, and then you got to show up a couple hours away, San Antonio, and play. I don't blame him, man. That's tough.
It's probably for the better, honestly, that he missed the cut. I mean, he had a letdown on the Sunday, too. He didn't really show up on Sunday either and did himself any favors, losing to Kuchar and then getting blown out by Molinari. But, a chance to recharge the batteries. He's already posted pictures being at Augusta. So, it's another big moment for him to really take advantage of. And, I'm, of course, going to be in at 6,400.
Yeah, it's partly a price thing, too. I mean, I think the upside is certainly there, but if he was closer to 7K, 71, 72, it would be a tougher decision for me. But yeah, I'm fine with that. 6,400 gives you a lot of options.
If pricing would have came out after it, you know what I mean? Him and Wallace are probably, there's no reason he's $700 less than Wallace at all.
I know.
So for me, yeah, absolutely. It's a no-brainer to get him in.
Alrighty. Axis, any guy in here? I'll go ahead real quick just to kind of finish off this end.
Yep.
So Charlie Hoffman, obviously I like a ton. Really excited to lose money on that when everyone flocks to him and he doesn't do anything. But yeah, I'm going down with the ship, Charlie Hoffman's ship. Keith Mitchell is a first timer, but I really like his game for Augusta. I'm not sure. I might have to think on it more as far as being smart versus a gut play. But I mean, obviously he's been playing good. But I remember watching him at the Arnold Palmer after he won at the Honda. And I could picture him playing well here. He's playing long enough, makes a lot of birdies. I think his short game has really gotten tuned up for these type of events. So I think Keith Mitchell would probably be one of my favorite guys here. And hopefully he's, one of those 6%, 7% under plays that kind of, it doesn't seem sneaky with such a small field, but maybe he comes in lower owned and gives you some leverage, because I know Charlie Hoffman won't.
Yeah, for sure. I think just this low, you're probably just trying to take a stab or two, try to get lucky, and you can go the course history route, which would be in this range would be Jimmy Walker. And it's not great course history, but for guys priced down in this range, you at least know he has played well here before, comfortable at the course. And then another guy who just kills me, but Emiliano Grillo, 6,600. The best part of his game is off the tee. He scores decently well on par fives. He makes a crap load of birdies. The problem is he makes a bunch of bogeys too. So this could definitely be. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy with anybody down here, but
yeah.
If I'm making 20 to 50 lineups, I think I'll have a handful of Grillo lineups just to really try to cram in some guys up top. But other than that, that's about the bottom end of the player pool for me. I mean, Biergaard, of course, I just let Sky talk about it. I just accept that I'm just a shadow of that. But there will be some Biergaard line 6,400, the birdie upside. I know, debutante, but gotta have it.
I've got two things based off of the two guys that you just talked about that's a little contrary to both points from a good and a bad point. Keith, I really love his game from a tee to green standpoint. I mean, it seems like it would be the perfect fit, but he has publicly spoke about how much he prefers being on Bermuda greens. Mm-hmm. I mean, these greens might mitigate the best putters too, with being how difficult they are, but he worries me substantially being on these fast bent grass greens. Contrary to that, there was a quote, I believe, I think Spieth might have said it a couple years back, that said Grillo is the best fast putter out there. And It's wild because numbers don't really reflect that, but it's a conversation, and I might even loop Wiley in on this because Wiley was the one that we chatted about this with. But Grillo's favorite course is what I think it might potentially be the biggest correlation in the standpoint of layout would be Memorial. So Muirfield from the fast bent grass greens. And he that's his favorite course on tour he's talked about. So I like Grillo a lot too. And then I'm interested in Siwoo after his performance over the last couple of days.
Might be hurt though.
Yeah, I would be interested to see after. I mean, he came back and still birdied the hole, and I think he birdied the next one too. But I'm interested in Siwoo a bit, and then this was wild. So I just saw this kind of looking back at Corey Connors' numbers here, and he's not in the pool from a sense yet, but he had 30 birdies and eagles this week. The next closest person was 22.
Wow.
So, I mean, he probably slots in at what, 6,700, 6,600. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, it's a reason you got on Henley last year was how well he played at Valero.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of intrigued at Connor's game fitting here.
Yeah, he just can't putt. He sucks at putting. Even though he made some putts this week, obviously, but first timer there. I think he'll get some ownership, and I'm not going to play any Corey Connors. I don't care if his price was $6K even, to be honest. I don't think I could do that, but hopefully it comes with some ownership personally. I don't know. I know the first timer narrative is not ideal because it's like we talked about the drastic change from, say Wednesday to Thursday. A lot of course knowledge with the greens, him coming in off a win, which is great. I mean, you have good form coming in, but if he can't putt on these greens and he gets a little bit of ownership, I just can't do that.
I'm just happy for him that he doesn't have to Monday qualify anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. That's his third one of the year. Yeah. Unbelievable. No, I mean, I get it. I just think also I personally think the debutante narrative is a bit overblown. As we talked about your posts of the lineups, I mean, betting to DraftKings is a different story. 2 of the last 4 years, there's been a debutante in the winning DraftKings lineup.
True.
So I mean, I think it's a different narrative when we're talking about who can score the most DraftKings points. I'm not expecting Man Rocket to come out and win this week, although I definitely did bet on him at 250 to 1 because I couldn't not. But, he could very well finish 13th and definitely be in the winning lineup at that price point. So I think that's where the correlation from debutante to, from that is just a difference to betting and winning.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. No doubt. But
does Connors get a bump from winning? Does Connors get a bump from winning? Probably. And then one name too, I forgot because he hasn't been added in the DraftKings pool. Did have a poor performance too, but it's another Euro, probably cheap debutante is Justin Harding. I think he's very talented. Disappointed at Valero this week. I'm interested to see where they price him at though.
Australians have had a good success here too, even though
maybe talk me into that, but I'll see what his price is.
I honestly didn't even see him.
He's not
in yet.
He was the one that got in because of match play. So he just snuck into the top 50.
Okay. Yeah, he'll be around 66 probably.
Playing really well up until Valero, so.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, one event, just get into a bad groove. The interview they had with Wiley and Pat Mayo last week for just general golf media or whatever, that was the best way to describe guys in a golf tournament because it doesn't take much for you to just walk up or wake up and you just don't feel great, or you drive to the course and you get into traffic and you're stressed because you're running late or whatever it is. There's so many factors that can go into him just being uncomfortable at the golf course and not playing well. It doesn't mean he can't play well from what he was playing well at the match play. So yeah, I'm not scared off that at all. He'll be in my player pool most likely. I just don't like the Connors chase. I just feel like that'll be a pretty evident.
No Connors for me.
But it makes sense, that when you can play someone who's probably just as talented at the same price who didn't. Yeah, no, I can see it.
Maybe first round lead him or something. I'm sure it'll be long and just see if he can keep it going for another round. But
that's not a bad call.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'm not playing any of the veterans, so don't.
Nope.
Don't ask that. The last guy I'll ask you guys about, and then we'll close this show out. Just because I know there's too many sharp people listening, and it seems like there's always someone we don't talk about, and they think it was a mistake. But Zach Johnson, 6,900, previous winner. I don't hate him here. I like guys around him. He'll probably be in my player pool a little bit, but nothing crazy.
I don't really have too much take on ZJ. Yeah, I mean, because of where his price is, I had just planned on playing a bunch of Charles Howell III.
That's true.
No ZJ for me here. I mean, yeah, I haven't been really much of a ZJ action guy over quite some time, and off the tee he's been pretty putrid leading in. So not for me.
It's very hit or miss here. I don't care about his win, to be honest.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, one win, bunch of miscuts, couple top 30s. It's up and down bad.
Yep. No, thank you.
But ownership is a thing, and
yeah,
I get it.
I just can't imagine too many would play Charles Howell III, and I would take him heads up against ZJ any day of the week right now.
That's true.
Agreed.
Chill it is. All right, guys. Any final thoughts as we get into the Masters tournament? We'll have. I know you have an article up right now, Axis, talking about not necessarily trends, I guess, but guys that have really piqued your interest as far as like lead-in form into the Masters and things to look for. But any other closing thoughts you got?
Yeah, the only closing thought is that come Sunday, it will be magical to finally witness Rory and the career Grand Slam. That is all.
Skylar, what do you got?
For me, no. I mean, what I want to do is I'm a go big, go home approach. As you heard, my pick to win is Kuchar. And from the standpoint of knowing that he is going to be that substantially owned by the field, that's okay. We've seen the past lineups of Million Maker winners be, chalk, not heavy, but a chalk guy or two. So it's okay to be overweight on him, where I think that stance is. I think you can get contrarian by getting Brooks in that lineup, the major form, basically king. You couple that with my guy Man Rocket, and you got a great starting point from a chalk and a low owned standpoint that you can work around. If you're going to be 3-maxing it, again, I like go big, go home. You stay that core of 3 to 4 guys and sprinkle around. If you're doing MME, don't be afraid to be overweight on guys you feel strong about, because that's how you're going to make the stance. I mean, Drew, you talked about before this. You were heavy on Sergio last year, and you still were able to win $1 million based off how you construed your lineups around that. So be smart about building. It's the best week of the year, so don't be afraid to make stances.
Yeah, exactly. Sergio let me down, but Charlie Hoffman pulled me through. Go Hoffman.
Amen. I'm excited for the week. Absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, that'll pretty much do it. We have a Masters contest. So if you haven't already, you can visit fantasygolfbag.com. We have a little banner at the top. You can click the link and read about what you need to do to enter for, we got a Ping Glide Forged Wedged, a TaylorMade high toe wedge, same thing Rory is using, and a TaylorMade Spider putter we're giving away this week for the Masters. So check out that, see what you have to do to win that contest. We'll have our articles out this week a little bit early. Again, I'll be leaving Tuesday to head up to Augusta and be there on site. So excited to kind of relay into chat what I see at the golf course and how guys are playing, from what I can tell. But that'll pretty much do it, guys. This is the best week of the year, no doubt. I'm excited to win another milli. That's be easy. So
just fly us in once you win. We'll meet you in Florida.
Absolutely, you'll be coming down. We'll have a few drinks.
There we go.
Sounds awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning into the Fantasy Golf Bag podcast. You can find us at fantasygolfbag.com, and we'll be ready to go for the 2019 Masters. Good luck with your lineups. If you haven't already, one last thing, use promo code GURUS20, Jesus20 to save 20% off your membership. All of Fantasy Jesus stats, rolling stats, is going to premium this week. This will be the last week to use the promo code before that goes away as well. So go ahead and sign up, and we have a lot of cool things in store as the Masters approaches and closes. So thank you for tuning in, guys. We'll see you later this week for the Masters. Good luck and enjoy the week. See ya.